Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. And in this video we're going to be answering a question. I've been getting quite a lot of questions actually, saying is it worth starting up a bouncy castle company? I've been thinking about starting a little business, but I'm not sure where to start and whether it's going to be viable. So I'm going to answer some of these questions, some of the pros and some of the cons, or some of the benefits and some of the pitfalls. So one of the first benefits really, and to answer this question, it's pretty much any small business you start up, you're going to get out of it what you put in. So the harder you work, the more chance you are of making a success of it. It's not something you just set up and expect to run itself. It's very hands-on and very physical work. But anyway, we'll list some of the benefits. Now, there is a steady income potential. Not in the beginning, you won't get this. The first 2 or 3 years, I find that you're going to be working 2 jobs pretty much. So you're going to be doing a Monday to Friday or a 9 to 5, and you'll be doing this at weekends. So if you start off with a couple of castles, 12 by 12s I would recommend, or 10 by 10s, that'll get you going, and it'll just give you enough really, just get some money sort of coming in to help you going with it. So it's a steady income potential, and it does offer year-round bookings. Now you won't get as many in the winter months obviously as you would in the summer, but it's got what they call scalability is pretty good. So the business can start small and grow over time as you invest more in the inflatable. Now, one of the other benefits is flexibility. Now, it can be started off as a part-time job. As I was saying, you can have a 9 to 5 job, and you can just do this at weekends. If you've got the go in you to do that, then there's no reason why you shouldn't really just run it as a little part-time income. That's how I started doing it. It was like that for about two or 3 years. I think it was the 4th year when it really started to take off, and then I had to make a decision if I wanted to just scale it back, keep it small, keep my 9 to 5 job, or just go for it and just do it full time, which is what I did do. And one of the next points, the benefits, is low initial investment. Now what we mean by that is the capital investment is flexible and can be tailored to your needs. Now what we mean by that is you don't have to start operating with some of the big operators in your local area. You don't need to have 10 castles and 5 slides and all this other sort of bits and pieces. All you want to do is find out which ones are getting out the most. You can ask around, ask on forums, which are the most popular items. Now from my experience, it was always 12 by 12 castles. They're always out, they fit in most gardens, most venues. Sometimes a venue may have a height restriction and you might need to get a lower ceiling height one if that's what you're aiming for, is more indoor work than outdoor work. It depends. Some companies do. I know a few that prefer indoor hire, so they do a castle with soft play indoors, so that's why they would invest in more low ceiling height castles, because most standard, what they call an A-frame castle, are 10 foot in height. So if you've got a low venue with say 8 foot, then it's not going to go in, so you're going to lose that booking. So that's a consideration. If you're just going to be doing it out in the gardens in the summer months, then you can get pretty much A-frame castles all the way really, and they come with built-in rain covers, a lot of those as well. So if you get a shower, it's still good to go. The low height ones don't have this, so if they go out in a garden and you do get a shower, it's going to puddle up and be pretty wet, and sometimes the customers are going to moan and say that they didn't use it, it was wet and so on. So that's one thing to consider. The other one is potential for returns. So again, if it's low startup costs and you've got 3 castles and you're getting them out 2 on a Saturday, 2 on a Sunday, that's 4 in a week, that's 16 in a month. Now if you're putting those out at say 70 to 100 pounds depending on your area. Now if you're in central London, a 12 by 12 would go out for £100, no problem. If you're in probably the north of England, certain small kind of towns, you may only get £60 for it. So you'd have to cost all that in depending on your area. Now you also got to remember that the more castles you have, the more insurance and so on you're also going to have to need to get. So you're going to have to get public liability at a minimum, and you're going to have to get the castles tested. Now each test costs about £100 really when you cost it in. So if you've got 4 castles, that's £400 straight off. So you've got to cost that into your price of your castle. So don't underprice them by any means. And the best thing to do is to get like a spreadsheet or a little template and work out how much you can get in your area, how much the castles are going to cost to buy. Now you've got to remember some of the pitfalls in the bouncy castles. One of the main ones is that all steamed up and it's raining outside. I'm sitting in my van now, it's raining outside. I haven't got a job outside today. So the pitfalls are really seasonal fluctuations. Now what we mean by that is the winter months, obviously you're going to have less business, and also the wind. Now this can happen in the winter, not necessarily always in the winter, it can happen in the summer months. You could have 5 or 6 bookings booked and you're ready to go, you're all ready, it's on Friday, and then suddenly the forecast comes in, it's going to be high winds all weekend. Now you cannot put these castles out in winds over 24 mile an hour, that's the law, because they can topple over. If it's inside in a hall, you're fine to go. You can just put the sandbags on the castle. There's not going to be any wind issues. You just got to make sure it doesn't topple over. But outside, it's a no-no. You can't put them out. Some people do. I don't. And most of the companies I know don't do it either. I make the customer aware at the time of the booking, if the weather forecast changes and it's high winds, it would have to be cancelled or rescheduled to the following weekend. Now most customers I find are pretty understanding with this, really. They understand and say, yeah, obviously if you emphasise it's for safety reasons, that's the reason why doing it. You know, we're not going to keep your deposit or something, we're going to let you reschedule at a later date. If they don't want to reschedule at a later date, I'll just refund the deposit, because it's no one's fault, it's not your fault, it's not theirs, it's just the weather, and that's all there is to it. Now you do get the odd customer who'll say, oh, the weather, I've looked at it, it looks okay, I want to go ahead, and I've got people coming and all that. Don't be talked into it. Just be firm. Say no, I'm not going to do it. Do a screenshot of the weather forecast showing the wind speeds. BBC's pretty good for this. It'll show you the wind speeds. If it's over 25-30 mile an hour, it shows it in a little black circle, so it emphasises it. The wind speeds are high. And just say no. Sometimes a customer will ring around other companies and they'll probably get the same answer in probably most of them. You'll get the odd one who'll say, yeah, I'll do it. He might be a little start-up and he just wants that money, but he's the one running that risk if something goes wrong. Don't be that man or woman, that's for sure. Now also some of the pitfalls are the maintenance and cleaning. A lot of people don't think this. When they start up, they think, oh, it's quite easy, I can just get a castle, sling it up in a garden, it's fine. But it's not, and it's not the end of it. You've got to obviously pick it up, and if it's been raining, which it often is, and it's in the autumn or spring months, it can be pretty muddy, the gardens, you've then got to take it back and clean it. So you've got to have a regular cleaning and maintenance schedule set up in place. So when you bring them back, if you've got somewhere to put them up in your garden, that's great. If you haven't, then you're going to have to find somewhere where you can put them up and clean them, because you can't be putting out sort of dirty or muddy castles, and you certainly can't be storing them away like that either, because they'll go mouldy. So you need to have a cleaning program in place. So if you can set it up in your garden, like I say, that's the best way to do it. If not, then you're going to have to find somewhere. Some people use a hall. If they got access to a little local village hall, they can set it up, maybe pay them a fee or give them a free castle hire just to get them cleaned and stuff in dry weather, when it's raining outside rather, and you need to get them dried and ready for the next weekend. Now insurance and safety regulations, these are the pitfalls as well. A lot of people think when they start up, oh, I won't need all that until I get established, but you do. Straight off, you need to have all that in place, because if you don't and something goes wrong, and remember you're a novice, you're only starting out, you're not experienced like the guy down the road, so you need to have all this insurance so if anything went wrong. And when I say anything, I don't mean someone hurting themselves, you don't want that obviously, but you could be bringing it through a house and you could scuff the side of the walls, or you could drop it and damage something. Now one of the other things, the pitfalls, is the competition. Now this is the first thing you want to research when you're considering doing it. Now we're in the winter months now, it's in sort of early February, and this is the best time to start researching this. Find out how many companies are. So go onto Google and have a good look on there, see what other companies are and what they're charging. Don't think I'll come in cheaper than them and get their work off them, because people will look at you and think, I've never seen him before and he's doing his at like 30% less. Why is he doing it 30% less? Some people will just see the bottom line, which is the price, and go for it, but a lot of people won't, and they want reliability. So if they've used that company before the last 3 or 4 years, they're more likely to go with them. It goes a long way is having reliability and punctuality, I find. So you want to just price them at the same price. You won't get all of them, the other companies are going to get them, but you'll get a few. And when you do, ask for a review on Google and put them on there, and that'll all start building up your authority. So if you've got 2 or 3 reviews on there, they said, yeah, he was really good, he was punctual, his castles were clean, he turned up on time, that's all pretty good. It will all go in your favour. So you want to check the competition. That's pretty important really, because if it's saturated and there's a lot of castles and you're in a small town and you've got 5 or 6 different companies, it may not be the industry to go into, because it's going to be saturated and very hard to get a foothold. So to recap really, getting started, to start the bouncy castle business, you want to thoroughly research the market. So conduct thorough market research, invest in quality safety tested equipment. So go to the big manufacturers that you know have got UK safety certificates. So you can buy from China direct. I wouldn't recommend that if you're just starting out. Buy for a British company. It's going to cost you a bit more, but if you price it in, there's no reason why it can't sort of pay for itself in the first season. And you also want to obtain all the necessary insurance and familiarise yourself with safety regulations. Now you can go onto the Health and Safety Executive website, HSE for short, and they'll give you a rundown of what you need to do. Now there are requirements for pegging them down outside. You have to have 6 anchor points on a small 12 by 12 minimum, sometimes more on the newer ones. Now they're having 3 on the sides and 2 on the back, and some on the step also. But the 6 is pretty much minimum. On the bigger castles you're going to have more, so you want to make sure you use all of those and use the recommended anchor points and put them in it. You don't have to. Some people put the pegs in direct like that. I'll put mine at 45 degrees on both sides, so if it's pulling one way with the wind, it's going to hold it in rather than pulling it out. You don't have to do it that way, but that's how I do it, and it's always sort of worked for me. I've never had one come out when I've gone to pick it up. They come loose when the ground's been sort of really wet and waterlogged, but never had them come out. So you want to develop a marketing strategy, and by that I mean go onto all the socials like Facebook, Instagram, even YouTube. Now people can put videos up of jobs they've done. Put yourself out there and get yourself known, or ask people to leave reviews and so on, and it'll all go towards getting you sort of recognised and known. Now one of the main things really to recap really is start small. Don't start, you know, I'll go in there, I'll buy like 10 castles and I'll compete with the one down the road who's got 9 castles, because it won't work. Believe me, he's been doing it a lot longer than you, and he's got a client base, and a lot of them are recommendations, so they'll come back to you if they use you before, and you'll have 10 of them, 9 of them sitting in your garage and 1 of them out. Now they've all got to be paid for, like tested, insured, storage and all the rest of it. All going to be costs that you have to pay for, and you can quickly run into debt. So just start small, as I said in the first point. Get a couple of 12 by 12s to start with, and then just expand from there. Do it for 1 year initially, I would suggest, and if you still like it, then carry on and expand and think, oh well, that one was very popular, people ask for this equipment, I'll invest in some of that. It's different in every area. I mean, I found in my area certain things are more popular than others. So 12 by 12s are obviously very popular, and then they also ask me, do you know anyone that does marquees and tables and chairs and stuff like that? And I used to hire them from another company, and then I thought, you know what, I might as well buy these, and then I can just supply the whole lot in one go rather than chasing up another company and complicating it. So but that depends on your area, so you'll have to do your own research, market research, keep your ears to the ground and so on. Now the equipment cost, to run over it quickly, people have asked me how much would it cost. Well, a standard size 12 by 12 is between £1,000 and £2,000 each. So that's if you've got one castle. So you need to cost all that in. Disco domes are around 1,500 or possibly more. Assault courses are 2,000 to around 5,000, depending on how big and which manufacturer. And the additional costs also, you've got to buy the blowers, remember. You've got to have the safety mats, you've got to have rain covers if needed, and also the anchors and pegs. Now, when you buy a castle, a lot of the manufacturers do supply that. So one castle, 6 pegs, the blower, the rain covers are generally built in on a lot of them now, I find. But you've also got to remember you've got to cost that in. So you want to get yourself a little spreadsheet and work out exactly what your costs are. So your insurance, you want to cost that in. So the cost of the castle, the insurance, storage. So if you've got to hire a storage facility, then you're going to have to cost that in. And then work out how much it's going to cost and how much it's going to cost you in 1 year. And then work out how many castles it would take to get out to recoup that. Now it can be done in 1 season. If you're quite busy and you're willing to put in the legwork, putting as many out as you can, then you could probably do it in 1 year. But possibly 2 years would be more realistic. So you need to cost all that in before you start up. But if you do, and you think it can work in your area, then go for it. And hopefully this will be helpful to you, this video. You can reference it. If there's any other points that you would like me to cover, let me know in the comments below and I'll try and cover them. I have had quite a few questions on people asking me to do this video. I did one last year about the basics. Hopefully it was quite helpful to people, but this is just an update. Because of the cost of living, people are asking me, is it viable? Well, it is viable. I mean, inflation is going up and the cost of everything's gone up since COVID. Everybody knows that, but you've got to reflect that in your prices. So just have a look at it, work out a little basic spreadsheet, buying your castles, your insurance, putting them at a certain cost, multiply that by times either 12 months or 6 months at the maximum you can get in the summer, and just see whether you could break even in 2 years. Or even 1 year. If you can do it in 1 year, then you're well on the way. And then you keep your 9 to 5, your day job going. Definitely don't give that up in the beginning, because you may not even like it. Some people have got a job and they're not sure and stuff. So it's worth trying it. And if it doesn't work, you haven't laid out too much money, and it can be sold on. You'd probably take a little bit of a loss if you did decide to sell on. A lot of companies do it for 1 year and realise it's hard work, it's dirty, I don't like it, and sell on. So there's always a market in second-hand equipment as well. So you could go down that road and buy second-hand, but if you're buying new, you're going to get a year's warranty on it, and so on. So starting out, I would probably recommend going that way. You can buy second-hand once you're established and you know what you're doing and you know what manufacturer's a good manufacturer and so on. But starting out, go to some of the bigger names, ask around on Facebook or on forums, and they'll point you in the right way. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. As always, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, drop any comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.